Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a phrase you've definitely heard, maybe even used yourself, but you've probably never truly stopped to think about where it actually came from. It's a concept that started out as 19th century slang, somehow transformed into a sanitation punchline, and, believe it or not, holds a profound strategy for navigating our crazy modern lives. Let's jump into the fascinating story and the spirit of being Johnny on the spot. To really get this, I want you to picture a highly relatable moment. Imagine your car battery just completely dies on a lonely, quiet road at dusk. The light is fading fast, and just as that awful knot of panic starts to tighten in your stomach, a friendly neighbor pulls up out of nowhere, jumper cables in hand, with a ready smile. Or think about a sudden, massive crisis at work, a literal rising tide of complexity that's threatening to completely sink your project. And then, a colleague steps forward at the exact perfect moment with a calm, clear solution. So, who exactly is that person? Well, that person is the very embodiment of what we're talking about today. They aren't just physically standing there, they are prompt, they're incredibly useful, and they willingly place themselves right in the heart of the action when it matters most. Really, they're the heroes of everyday life. They're the ones standing firm right when that rising tide of complexity tries to pull you under. If we look at Merriam-Webster, a Johnny on the spot is officially defined as a person who is on hand and ready to perform a service or respond to an emergency. But why Johnny, right? Why not David on the spot or Michael? Well, historically, the name Johnny has served as this sort of generic, friendly stand-in for the average everyman. Think of names like John Doe or Joe Public. It doesn't actually point to one specific historical figure. Instead, it represents literally anyone who can be counted on in a pinch. Now, the history here is wonderfully layered. The spoken origins of this idiom actually trace all the way back to the 1870s. It likely grew out of the phrase, Johnny is always on the spot when wanted, and then it completely exploded into the public consciousness in April 1896, thanks to an article in the New York Sun that officially declared it a popular new phrase. But as we move into the early 1900s, the word John took on a very, very different slang meaning. That led to a genuinely hilarious evolution before it eventually became the modern life hack we use today. To really ground this concept, let's look at the foundational wisdom of Papa Q Bear, the father of this newsletter's author, Papa. You see, Papa Q Bear had this deep, profound appreciation for timely help. When someone assisted him in a moment of need, he wouldn't just give a quick thank you and move on. He would look at them and say, well, that fellow is always here when I need him. He is Johnny on the spot. He didn't just toss this around as a casual nickname. To him, it was a genuine honorific, a title of deep, hard-earned respect for a dependable helper. But as we all know, the English language absolutely loves a good collision. Just as this noble phrase was cementing itself in the culture as a term for a timely hero, the 20th century introduced a brand new piece of slang to the mix, the John, meaning, of course, a toilet or an outhouse. Suddenly, these two completely unrelated concepts found themselves on a total collision course. It really is a wild contrast when you think about it. On one side, you have the noble hero, someone who is timely, dependable, and incredibly helpful. And on the exact opposite side, you have the portable toilet, utilitarian, highly mobile, and undeniably necessary. Devious punsters working in the sanitation business quickly realized that Johnny on the spot was the absolute perfect, lighthearted pun for a portable toilet that appears exactly when and where nature calls. And because of this, companies all across the country literally began naming themselves Johnny on the spot. You know, this whole thing really highlights this rich, funny linguistic tradition we have of avoiding direct talk about our bathroom habits. The sanitation industry is just packed with quirky euphemisms. You've got the blue room, named for that signature vibrant color, the honey bucket, which is a surprisingly sweet name for a decidedly not-so-sweet reality. There's the porta-john, the very family-friendly tinkle tent, and of course, the privy, which is a great throwback to old-school outhouses. It's just a hilarious twist of fate that our noble, dependable hero got so tangled up in the world of portable sanitation. Okay, let's strip away the potty humor for a second and actually bring this back to your daily life. Because if you look beyond the funny linguistic history, Johnny on the spot represents a highly tangible, incredibly effective strategy. It is in so many ways the ultimate life hack for getting things done in a world that feels increasingly complex and specialized. So here is exactly how you apply it. Step 1. You have to recognize when you are facing a true crisis, or when you feel a rising tide of confusion that simply sits outside your personal wheelhouse. Step 2. Stop struggling. Seriously, don't try to be the hero if you don't have the right tools. Instead, use this hack. Call your expert, Johnny. Call that specific person whose actual job is to show up and help in a time of difficulty or confusion. Delegating to the right dependable expert at the precise moment of need is exactly how highly effective people navigate massive obstacles. Now that's how you use the concept when you are the one seeking help. But let's flip the lens for a minute. What if you are the one holding the jumper cables? What if you are the Johnny? This brings us to the real emotional core of this entire explainer. Being the person who steps into the gap for someone else completely transforms the communities and the workplaces that we live in. And this brings us right back to the wisdom of Papa Q Bear, who taught a much larger lesson here. He firmly believed that you should always try to be the Johnny on the spot at work or when you're helping out a friend or a neighbor, because freely giving help when it's desperately needed almost always pays back in a return favor, usually when you most need it and when you least expect to get it. As he used to say, pay it forward, sonny boy. So what's the bottom line here? Let's recap our crucial takeaways. First, truly value timely help. Recognize it and honor it when you see it in others. Second, embrace the funny, messy collisions of language. Honestly, it's what makes English so vibrant. Third, actively use this concept as a hack to get things done. When you are stuck, call an expert to step in and handle the crisis. And fourth, and absolutely most importantly, pay that help forward. We live in an incredibly unpredictable world where the tide of complexity is pretty much always rising. But we also have the collective power to navigate it together. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to carry with you today. Next time the unexpected happens, who will you call and who will you be?